There has been no negative comments about the sign, and there's been no more problems with anyone parking.
But if I may, because there's no enforcement.
No, I don't think you understand me, Mr. Murphy. There's no one parking there, enforcement, no enforcement. They're not parking there. I personally went down and looked at this sign, and where that vehicle was, yeah, I didn't finish it. And where that vehicle was actually parked was in a hazardous position, coming in off of Main Street, in my opinion. Mr. Rob?
Yeah. Going back, and I think what my understanding was, we never resolved this. We put this on hold, we directed, I believe, the town administrator to request the police chief not to enforce that sign until such time as resolve the issue. Now, if I look at it, which at the same time, there were other signs that were put up on that same vote. That night we voted, I believe there was like maybe 4 signs.
Total 4.
Okay? Right. The only one in question that particular night was Volk Street. But we said, well, how do we do signs, period, on any street, any conditions? And that's which led us to, especially the Volk one, where a resident did question it or object to it, to put it on hold until such time if we came up with a policy as to how we were going to do this, okay? My understanding is that's the way it was left. We have not come up with a policy yet.
Yes, we have. Well, the chief has submitted a policy.
Right, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Up until we got this policy in front of us tonight.
Right.
Right, and this was the whole intent, to find out how the police did it, what they did, the lines of authority, and so on and so forth. Now we have that in front of us. And my question now would be, we still have not resolved the Volk Street. If this is the procedure we're going to use, according to the police chief,
yep,
we should be setting up a hearing for this sign.
For Volk Street?
Yes.
If you gentlemen want to set up a hearing for Volk Street, I have no problem with it. But I want to make one thing perfectly clear. The only person who complained is the person who received the ticket.
Doesn't make any difference. He complained. It's a complaint.
That's fine. I just want to be sure. You know, I did my homework on this. I know a lot of the background on this situation. I will be more than happy to hold a hearing on Volk Street if you want to. I will.
Just points of clarification. I want to make sure I understand. The sign is there.
Sign is there.
It is currently not being enforced.
To the best of my knowledge, it's not being enforced.
But it can be.
But it could be, yes, it could be. But there is no one parking there. So maybe that's the reason it's not being enforced. Because there is no one parking.
If somebody parked there, would it be enforced?
I don't know. That's an honest answer. We had asked them not to until it cleared up the issue.
If I may, if I read the letter from the association, if somebody parks there and they call the police department, would it be enforced? And if we can't answer that question, then the issue's not resolved.
Yeah. Well, we have asked them not to enforce it. If you're asking me legally, can they go up there and write a citation on that vehicle? Yes, they can. Yes, they could. Legally, they could.
Well, Mr. Chairman, then the matter's not resolved. Either we want a parking sign, a no parking sign there with enforcement, or we want no parking, or we want to take the sign down. But we can't have a sign with no enforcement. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
Unless I'm missing something.
No, I'm not saying that it cannot be enforced.
I understand that, but if I'm going to sit here and vote to put up a no parking sign, it's because I don't want people to park there.
Exactly.
And if I'm going to vote to put up a no parking sign and then instruct the police department not to enforce it, it doesn't make any sense to me what I'm doing.
And that was only done because of the controversy over the letter of the person who received the parking ticket there.
I understand.
This is
but now there's another letter that I now have from the association, and they want no parking and they want it enforced.
Exactly.
So it's still an outstanding issue in my opinion.
Okay.
And I would respectfully request that the safety officer and the abutters come before us and we can resolve this issue, and either the sign stays up and it gets enforced, or the sign comes down.
Okay? I don't feel the condo has to come in here. I mean, they sent us a
Anybody
letter.
who wants to come in,
Well, right,
can come in, Mr.
right,
Chairman.
Right. If the gentleman who received the ticket wants to come in, that's fine. If he does want to come in, I would like to make a recommendation to this board that when we have a recommendation from a chief of police and a safety officer who are paying for their expertise, that we look at it wholeheartedly and we look at it thoroughly and we take it into consideration at the time of the hearing.
I absolutely agree. That's why I want them here.
Well-
I need their input.
I guess what I am saying is also is we could handle this tonight.
Mr. Chairman.
We could, but if you want to hold a hearing, we will.
But handle it tonight, if I may. Handle it tonight how? Tell them to enforce it?
Tell them to enforce it.
Then
That's what we could do, Mr. Rowe.
Mr. Chairman, I disagree with that because of the fact that when we've gone to the police, the chief has taken the time to come up with a policy that he is going to use from now on. This sign, I believe, is what caused this policy to be written to begin with,
You're right.
okay? Therefore, we should follow this policy right now on Volk Street and allow, notify well, he's gonna do it, notify the immediate abutters as to hearing date, time, and place, so on and so forth, and give both sides the opportunity to come in and present their case, whether it be for or against. And I think that's the only fair way to do it. And for us tonight, and quite to the contrary, I don't believe just because a person, a chief, police, and nothing against, or the safety officer, just because they say something, doesn't mean there isn't somebody out there that might have a legitimate reason to go against it. And I think we should hear them.
I have no problem with that, but I will ask, did any of these board members go to Volk Street and look at it? I did. The vehicle should not have been there. It was in an unsafe position. But I have no problem. We can have them come in.
I'm not questioning that.
Oh, okay. I
I'm
just
not
want to
questioning
sure.
whether you feel it.
I'm not questioning the recommendation of the safety officer at all. Okay? He came before us, and that was his recommendation, and we agreed with that recommendation. But now we have this halfway, so I just think we need to resolve this issue.
No problem.
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest that we, in the interest of clarifying this just once and for all, when we have the police department go over and put a bag over the signs for now, so there'll be no issue about whether someone should get a ticket or not get a ticket, and use this policy and have a hearing on our next meeting and have them all come in, and at that time we can vote whether to reinstate the sign and go forward from there.
I don't know if we can legally do that. That's the problem, where it's been voted in. I think what we should do is get this on the agenda, get the hearing, get it expedited, leave it as it is for now, get it expedited, and get the hearing, and get it in here to clear up this issue if the rest of the board feels it's an issue.
That'd be great.
Fine.
Okay, for the next agenda item, for the next meeting.
Yeah, let's try to do it for the next meeting.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, the only question I do have is, according to the chief's, section B, it says, once a date is established for that hearing, proper notify the immediate abutters. We should make sure that we notify him that we've called for the hearing, so
Exactly.
it
Exactly.
follows he has a chance to do what he
What he
says
has
he's
to
gonna
do.
do, yeah.
We'll have that on the next agenda. Okay. Where are we? Yeah, number 4. Signed February 12, 2002 special election warrant. Mr. Riel, how are you this evening? Do you have? Oh, you have it there, okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll read this. To either of the constables of the town of North Reading agree, in the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in elections to vote at Precinct 1, High School Gymnasium, Park Street; Precinct 2, Town Hall Gymnasium, 235 North Street; Precinct 3, St. Teresa's Church, Father Lane Hall, Winter Street; Precinct 4, St. Teresa's Church, Father Lane Hall, Winter Street, on Tuesday, the 12th day of February 2002, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the following purpose: to cast their votes in special town election for the following office: Selectmen, to fill vacancy unexpired term to 2003, and on the following ballot question. Question 1, shall the town of North Reading be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so-called the amounts required to pay for the bond issue for the purpose of purchasing, installing, and equipping modular classrooms to be located at various locations, and all costs incidental in relation thereto? Mr. Young.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just for the board's
Oh, I'm sorry, you have a motion.
acknowledgement, this has been reviewed by town council and has been approved as form.
Thank you. Mr. Mulder.
Mr. Chairman, I move to sign the February 12, 2002 special election warrant.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Mr. Rock.
I just have one question. On question 1, will there be a dollar figure on the ballot question?
No, there will not. That was appropriated at town meeting.
Okay, so this is to expend the funds
Expend
appropriated
the
at town
funds that
meeting.
were appropriated at the December 3rd town meeting.
And that
I had
was-
that same question
Right.
earlier today, that's why
Okay.
I the answer.
Thank you.
But that figure will not be on the ballot. So in other words, the people, if they didn't go to town meeting, or like us, didn't...
No, there's the question, yeah, no, it wouldn't, because it's not in the question.
Okay.
Yeah. It didn't, so it would, I would assume it would not be.
No, it doesn't,
Okay.
excuse me, no, it does not. Town meeting appropriates the funds. The vote, the ballot question authorizes the expenditure of such.
Okay.
When we have these, they draw up an explanation usually, a brief explanation, if I'm not mistaken, on the question.
Sometimes there has been
If
one.
you-
On
if
the
you
actual
vote
ballot.
yes, you will do this, and if you vote no, you will do that. Are we going to do
I've
that?
seen it at town meeting, I don't know if we.
No, I've
I'm
seen
trying to
it
recall
on...
if it does it on those type of questions. I know on questions such as statewide referendum questions, it lists that. I don't recall whether you do that on local
I don't either.
ballot questions. We'd have to pull out a recent ballot. I don't recall it being on local ballot questions, just statewide referendum questions. I can check into that though.
I mean, I just a suggestion, I think it
I
would
have
be
no problem
nice
being
to
there.
have that there so that people know exactly what they are.
I have no problem with
That-
being there. if we-
One of the things, it could work two ways. One is that if it's open-ended, they might say no, because they don't know what the
They
figure
don't
is.
know what the figure is.
Of course, then again, they might, if they see the figures.
They might say no.
They might say no.
Goes both ways.
But I just think it would be
Right.
good voter information
Yeah.
if we could.
If we
make
can put
sure
it on
that
there,
they
I see
understand.
no reason not to. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Zero, thank you. I'll go back to you. Copy rules of the judge.